Another protest encampment at UCLA, NBC News giving unironically awesome coverage of the situation.
The protests we've seen all spring flared up once again today on both coasts as Congress questioned college presidents about how they've handled the chaos on campus. Tonight, Liz Kreutz is at UCLA right in the middle of one of those protests. And Liz, an intense scene tonight?
Yeah, Tom, that's right. In fact, protesters have taken over yet another building here on campus. This after police forced many of them to leave an encampment they had erected earlier today. All of this time to the chancellor's hearing on Capitol Hill over those clashes here 3 weeks ago. At UCLA tonight, tensions again flaring up over the war in Gaza. Police clashing with pro-Palestinian protesters on campus after demonstrators erected a new encampment. Okay, another encampment has just popped up here at UCLA. You can see these protesters, they've barricaded themselves inside this plaza. There's a row of police here as they stand off with more protesters. That standoff happening the same day UCLA Chancellor Gene Block testified on Capitol Hill about his handling of the protests, seemingly unaware of the new protest forming.
I should emphasize there is no encampment.
The Hamas tunnels, you know, the protesters just keep showing up. You think you've cleared an area, and then they just go right back there. Yeah, second encampment. You're not, that like, there's nothing you can actually do to these protesters to make them stop. You know, it's too popular. It's not going to work. They're not all by cracking down as brutally as they did in UCLA. All they did was leave like a lasting mark of senseless violence, you know, and of state repression.
And there have been no demonstrations that are problematic.
Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar grilling Block over the university's response to an attack by counter-protesters on the pro-Palestinian encampment.
Who's the one bitch in neon orange? Who's in? Oh, she looks scary.
An attack by counter-protesters on the pro-Palestinian encampment.
Are any of these people in jail? Are any of these people arrested?
LAPD is working on trying to identify the people who were assailants that evening.
No arrests have been made. This week, the university removed the campus police chief from his position. Meantime, at Harvard...
Oh, yeah, did I cover that, by the way? They removed the UCLA police chief. It was one of those, like, forced resignations, basically, following the handling. Temporarily reassigned for my duties as chief. Reassigned temporarily pending an examination of our security processes. Now, is he being removed because he was too harsh or not harsh enough? I don't actually know what the reasoning was. I don't think we know. And I don't know to what extent the UCLA Police Department has authority over the behavior of the LAPD and the California Highway Patrol when it came to that campus crackdown. I'd say neither. Removed because it made national news was negative PR. Yeah, I mean, it could be that. Like, no matter what the reasoning is, at the end of the day, it was a horrible embarrassment for UCLA, and apparently will continue to be. So, rumor is he was fired for not going after the Zionist counter-protesters once they got violent. UCLA is supposedly scared of lawsuits. I mean, they've got the money for them. It is remarkably blatant how much the the LAPD were basically like paid off to not do anything about them. We literally have minutes of video footage of the cops not doing anything as Zionist agitators go up to the protesters and assault them, sometimes with weapons, like throw firecrackers in, chemical weapons, and the police just stood by and did nothing. And meanwhile, we got the photo of that one Zionist agitator who was literally shaking hands with the LAPD officer. It's pretty blatant, It's, again, not saying I'm surprised, just it's very blatant. Absolutely insane. So glad to have them there protecting our rights. Yeah. Did you see the piece from CNN on the subreddit where they actually covered the UCLA protest honestly? No, I'll take a look in a second. No Fed posting, Benjamin.
Hundreds of students walking out of graduation in protest of the school's decision to bar some students who participated in pro-Palestinian encampments from getting their...
Vermin, I gotta say, I'm trying out this thing you suggested, having the AC on when I've complained that it's too hot, and you knew what you were talking about. I didn't want the noise, but I think on the whole, assessing all the values at play, I think that having it on is better than not having it on when it's too hot. You were really cooking with that one. And now I'm not cooking. Yeah, I'm always right. Yeah, I know. Just it took a little while for that one to process. I didn't really get the connection between it being too hot and the AC being turned on to help.
Their degrees.
Our freedom of speech and our expressions of solidarity became punishable.
Back at UCLA, the new encampment taken down. But with 3 weeks left of classes, the debate between free speech and hate speech raging on.
No, it's not a real debate. I was smart, Vermin. It was the one moment of a cool breeze was what allured me, you know? The cool breeze was like getting a whiff of the scent of a pie cooling on a windowsill. And it only took a little bit for the coquettish finger of the scent to lure me in. Can you clarify if you're sarcastic or genuine? And I genuinely can't tell. Perhaps a 10-minute mute will clarify the issue for you.
Want people to be able to freely and safely go to class without being yelled at, without being targeted for their ideological or...
We can't even hear the AC. I don't give a f about you. What do you mean? Oh, we can't even hear. Who the f cares if you can hear? I hear it. Well, like, I can't hear. I hear it.
Ethnic or religious identities.
This is our university, and we're here to say that we will not be intimidated and put into this systematic silencing.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the...
Mean that was ableist? I'm ableist, and it's time chat remembered that.
This is the worst violence.
Wait, hold on.
This is the worst
subreddit. Okay.
Violence of any of the ongoing college protests. UCLA, where counter-protesters used sticks and boards against a pro-Palestine encampment.
I just realized that all this segment, I'm not watching 5 minutes of CNN being correct for once. Like, cool, good for them. Yeah, I guess it's just, no free clout. No free clout for CNN. Wow, you covered something correctly. That's correct. Wow, that's so cool of you. No free clout, okay? You know, you should say the correct things because it's your job, not because they knew they were going to get Vaush coverage. Stop platforming them. You're right. I'll do better, you know. I've done a no growth. They also went and found a few of the more violent actors who weren't even students. Well, yeah, of course. Those were fully, like, outside agitators. Like, in the most obvious... You look at the student protesters in the encampment, and you see a bunch of tiny, scared, like, freshmen and sophomores, and then you see the guys screaming at them and attacking them, and it's guys in their mid-20s or later. Like, yeah, it doesn't take... You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to see like which side is the paid off. You've got literal photos of one side, the Zionist agitator, shaking hands with the LAPD. Yeah, you know, real brain buster. You know, these protests are going to continue until, I don't know, people forget or get bored or something, or God willing, you know, Israel stops. Maybe, if you could imagine such a thing happening. They're not going to stop. Youth Demand in UK are saying government has 1 week for an arms embargo in Israel, saying they will escalate if demands not met. I was very surprised when we took a look at the polling of citizens in European countries, and it turns out that they're even more anti-Zionist than average, like, Americans. And the only reason we don't see or hear that is because the European governments are insane. Also, I think a lot of it is that Europeans are cowards. It might be because you guys don't have real free speech, and like the German or the British government will burn your house down if you say anything negative about Israel. Like there are greater consequences. Over here in America, we have I don't know, more stringent protections, or at least a louder activist culture. Or maybe honestly, maybe we're just not hearing it, you know? Maybe I can't say anything even remotely critical of Germany because Methaldo will write me up one. So let's just say that I didn't say that about Germany and I said that about all the other countries. You know, you say like the French love their protesting, and then it turns out, well, the French are willing to protest for like, I don't know, don't sell cheap European grain because our farmers need to, like, it's not enough for them to get half of the EU's budget in subsidies. But then when it comes to a genocide, they're like, well, hold on, are Palestinians white? No? Okay, hold on. Can Palestinians speak French? No? I don't care then. And then that's it. That's my impression, honestly. No. No. does any European country have American level speech protection? Now, America has pretty strong free speech protections. You know, every once in a while you hear you hear about that trial that was going on recently in the UK about some nurse lady who's been accused of killing infants, and then like the government was shutting down. There were like excerpts where the judge or the prosecution's lawyer was asking insanely leading questions of the defendant, and they were shutting down news coverage because you're not allowed to publish news stories on ongoing trials if it contradicts the narrative of the prosecution or something. Some insane shit like that. I didn't read fully into it, but it was like, oh my God.